Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Target Focus Live. My name's Steve, and today I got a very special guest. It's the legendary Jerry Miculek, because we're talking about the Mossberg 940 Pro series of shotguns, and I couldn't think of anyone better to talk about it with than my friend Jerry here. So if you're looking for an in-depth and super detailed review, because this guy's a wealth of knowledge, let's go. All right, guys, I'm super excited about this video, having Jerry here to talk about the 940. I mean, this guy has pulled more triggers, shot these guns more than probably anybody else. So I couldn't do this gun justice by myself. So I'm super excited to be here, Jerry. Thanks for having me down here in Louisiana. This feels amazing.
This
sunshine.
This is wintertime right here, guys.
Where's all your snowdrifts, man?
That's all you get.
But in case you don't know who Jerry is an icon in the shooting and outdoor industry and has done so many incredible things. If you haven't seen his videos, I'm going to put a link to the description to his channel. Out of all your accomplishments or records, what is the one that kind of rises to the top?
Well, probably the one that has the most videos was a .45 revolver. Shot it 6 times, did a reload, and shot another 6 times on target in 2.99 seconds. So 12 shots with a reload on target, 2.99.
12 shots with a reload in a revolver in 2.99?
Yeah, but we also shot Smith & Wesson.
Was that a full auto revolver? I don't know that there's no such thing, but was that full auto?
It's all double action stuff. So you have to swap hands. You shoot 6, swap hands, extract the cartridges, load it back with your strong hand, put it back in your strong hand, and shoot 6 more.
That's incredible.
On target. So it's a lot of fun stuff.
If you've ever shot a double action revolver, you know that pulling those triggers, it can be a challenge to stay on target, but flying that fast, like,
that was cool.
Unbelievable. And of course, you've spent quite a bit of time in 3-gun competitions.
Right. Yeah, 3-gun,
That's been your big deal?
Yeah, I always shot 3-gun. It started back in the mid-'80s. Soldier of Fortune had the only 3-gun competition in the United States. It was out in Las Vegas. You shot 3, rifle, pistol, shotgun. Of course, when I first started shooting, I was a shotgun guy. We hunted ducks or whatever. So then the handguns came later, and then the rifle, you always had a .22 rifle. So it was just kind of a mix, and you get to play with all kind of different equipment and different calibers, and it makes a fun day. Now,
you've been in this industry for how many years?
31 as a pro. I've been competing for about 45.
And are you tired of it yet?
No, well, I don't want to be in an office selling insurance. I'd rather be out here with you, Steve, burning ammo, throwing targets in the air, and having a good time. So to me, this is like, what else would I be doing?
I'm with you there, Jerry, absolutely. So let's jump into talking about the 940 Pro. A lot of you viewers have been asking for me to review the 940 Pro, and I was waiting for just the right moment. I found the right moment, because this man is part of the reason the 940 Pro is here. In fact, before the 940 Pro, what were you shooting, Jerry?
It was a 930.
And you have one here. This is a 930. Why don't you pick that up and give them a look at that 930? But that doesn't look like a normal 930 there.
No, I shot open division, so the way I made my gun was different than what a TAC Ops gun. So this is my wife's TAC Op gun.
Okay.
It's very similar to what Lena shot. So what we did was a lot of modification to the handguard, and also the way you could get ammunition through the bottom of the receiver.
Right. And the reason this is important, the reason we're talking about the 930 is because some of the modifications that they made to these guns were part of the inspiration for the 940 Pro lineup, right?
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
So what was done on this gun that was inspiration or that transferred over to the 940s?
Well, one of the big things was the handguard, because when you do a quad load, the original 930 handguard actually had a protrusion, had a sharp corner right here. So when your hand was to slide from the receiver to the handguard, it was very abrupt.
Oh, yeah.
So to make it smooth like you see on these guns was a big change. And they also opened up the loading port considerably, and that facilitates quad loading, or if you're hunting in the field, you can get ammunition into the gun a lot quicker. It just makes sense from the aspect of, to me, when I shoot 3-gun guys, a shotgun is always empty. It doesn't matter what magazine you have on it. When you're shooting fast, they go empty. Well, you're always loading when you're doing it.
Always loading.
It's like, so getting ammunition in the gun is probably as important as actually shooting it.
And I tell you that, the guns that I look at, that's something that I absolutely love. And the guns that don't do that, I really notice it now. So love that feature.
One of the things you'll notice too, the elevator here is actually a lot longer. And the reason for that is on a standard one, when you go to load it real quick and you put your thumb in an upward position, it's like you can't pull it out. It'll lock your finger in.
It's like a Chinese shotgun trap.
It is. So the longer lift or elevator keeps your thumb from being captured by the firearm, keeps you in the fight more, and you can shoot more easily and load very rapidly that way.
Absolutely, I love that.
Yeah, got to get ammo in the gun.
So is there anything else on that 930 that transferred over here? We talked a little bit about the forearm.
Yep, they're extra large bolt release, and the bolt charge handle is oversized also.
Now that's standard on all 940 Pros now.
It is now,
right?
yep.
One thing you were telling me about was how this redesigned gas system is able to shoot a lot more rounds between cleanings now.
Exactly.
As much as we sometimes like to clean guns, as much as we shoot, we don't want to be cleaning all the time, right?
Right, yeah. So it allows you about 3 times the run time before you have to do maintenance on the gun.
Versus what the 930 was?
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay,
So
awesome. We'll jump into that a little bit more later, but let's dive into the specs of the 940 Pro shotguns. So the MSRP of these shotguns, the one I have here is the baseline field model. This is 903 MSRP, but then you have like Jerry's signature shotgun, the 940 JM Pro, which comes in at about $100 more,
Yep.
I believe. And it comes with that mag tube, correct?
it does, yep.
So now in this review, we have the luxury of having the field, the JM Pro, and also the waterfowl edition. So we'll be talking about these 3 different guns throughout the video. So all of the 940s are 12 gauge shotguns with 3-inch chambers, and they all run on a gas system, which we mentioned briefly, but we'll talk a little bit more when we break these shotguns down. Now, as far as weight, Jerry, what is the weight of these shotguns?
7 3/4 pounds.
Yep.
They're around there, but what I like about it, it's not too heavy and it's not too light. You get too light, it gets vicious on the recoil, and too heavy, you can't hold it up on a long field course. So it's kind of an interim weight. I like it.
The lighter the gun is, the more perceived recoil you're going to feel, but you also don't want to be carrying around just a heavy block of a gun that you're going to fatigue easily, right?
Yeah, especially when you load the magazine tubes up completely.
Yeah.
You get a lot of extra weight. You know, the guns you get 11 rounds, so that's a considerable amount of weight added just with ammunition. So
Absolutely. When it comes to adjustability of these guns now, these are able to adjust the length of pull, which is, I think, every shotgun should have, but tell me a little bit more about the adjustability of these guns.
compared to the 930, this is one of the features that was probably the most requested, because you can change how long the stock is. So it fits smaller statured people, and there again, the weight of the gun is critical, but you can adjust the stock for drop, how long it is for cast left or right, and you can bring the stock up if you wanted to. So there's a lot of adjustability that comes with the shim package, but how long it is very critical to fit a larger spectrum of competitors.
Right, because this can go with these spacers all the way from 13 inches to 14 and a quarter inches.
Right.
So it's got a lot of adjustability there. Now, out of the box, this is a little short for me.
Yep.
But all I'd have to do is add a spacer and we're good to go.
It comes with it, so you can just put it in.
And with the shims go between the receiver and the butt end of the stock here.
Correct. Yep.
And you've already added some to yours. What do you do with your gun?
Yeah, what I do with mine, I put a quarter more drop and a little bit of cast on it. It comes, I think, with an eighth of an inch worth of cast. I have a bigger face, and I need more drop in the stock to get flat on the receiver. Lena's just the other way. She shimmed her stock up.
She's got a little bit narrower face.
She's got a real narrow face.
Look at me, I got a pretty,
yeah.
some people have called it egg-shaped head, which I think is a compliment. I love eggs.
Yeah.
But the point is, a lot of adjustability, so we can go from smaller frame people to larger people, different size faces, and you can make this gun work for them.
Right, you don't have to settle. You can adapt it to you, which is really cool.
Okay, now looking at all 3 of these guns, they're a little bit different when it comes to choke tubes. They all run the AccuChoke
yep.
system, but like the standard field model, it's got the flush chokes, full modified improved cylinder. This waterfowl model has all extended chokes that are more suited for waterfowl conditions, and then the JM Pro, how's that set up?
Well, the JM Pro comes with 3 chokes and all external. It's going to be a cylinder, IC, and a mod, which covers pretty much the spectrum of what a 3-gunner would encounter.
Right.
So that's what it's tailored for, that application. But you can put any choke that fits the AccuChoke system into the 940, so you have that flexibility.
Do you see many people buying this and then using it for things other than competition?
You can just get a magazine cap on it and make a hunting gun out of it.
Right.
So
now, a little bit shorter barrel on this one, though. We got a 24,
24, right.
Versus, I believe both these are 28s.
Right. So it's how you want to adapt it to your environment or what you want to get out of it. So it's flexible in the aspect you can make a field gun out of it.
Right. So I see, a lot of folks, they don't necessarily have 5 semi-auto guns one for every different situation. So a lot of times they're crossing over.
Right.
So just consider that. Whatever I always tell people, what's your primary use? Base your gun off that, and then adapt it to the other scenarios. Okay, next we're going to take a look at the trigger of this 940 Pro. You got your trusty gauge there?
Yeah, I've got a trigger gauge. So Steve, why don't you pull the chamber flag and make sure it's empty, and we'll put it on fire. We'll pull the trigger a couple of times to give you an idea.
We're clear, good to go?
All right, we're good to go. Got it on fire here, and let's pull it a couple of times and see what it actually gives. They have some coatings that they apply to the sear to enhance the trigger. That was 5 pounds, 5 ounces, and we'll do it once more. What I do on my competition guns, I'll lighten the trigger a little bit, 5.6, so we're within an ounce.
Yeah.
Up 5.5 pounds, a little bit under.
Yep.
So my competition gun, I try to wean it down a little bit, and one of the reasons for that is most of my handgun triggers are under 3 pounds, and my rifle is under 3 pounds. So when I pick up a 6-pound trigger, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I bet you're really
that's
cranking
one of the fun
on it.
of 3-gun is you have to adapt yourself to each platform instantly. But I like to have the trigger pulls kind of consistent to where I don't have to think about it as much.
So what's your ideal shotgun in that 3-pound range? Or
if I could get 4,
4, yeah.
3.5, 4, and something crisp. And one thing about the 940 Pro, it has an over travel screw, so you can adjust how much travel you have on the trigger after it fires. It comes with the gun.
So tell me, from a practical sense, how that over travel screw makes an impact.
Well, in competition, all wasted motion is wasted motion. So if you pull the trigger and say it fires here, but it actually stops here, you've got all this extra motion where you could have that, you could use that time to have reset the trigger and get it ready for the next prep.
So the over travel is distance from when the trigger breaks.
Right. To when
movement rearward.
To when it stops.
To when it stops.
Right.
So you can impact that on the JM Pro.
Right. It has a trigger over travel screw. That's one of the things I wanted on the gun.
But not on the field model, correct?
Not on the field. But it's drilled and tap forward. You could put a set screw in it.
You just have to buy a screw.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's something I've never done, but definitely I like to go fast too. I'm not in competitions, but I like to go fast.
So you can that's another option to fine tune it. And that's what we do in competition. You want to fine tune the gun to what highlights you as a professional the most.
Right.
So you have that flexibility there.
So something I like to do, I like to put a trigger gauge or scale to the triggers to see where they come in at.
Yep.
And this is a really nice weight. I think just over 5 pounds is a nice spot to be.
Yep.
Shotgun triggers, when they get into the 6s and 7s, that's too heavy for me.
Yeah. So my AR is, like I said, they're under 3. Handguns are under 3.
Yeah.
So when I get on a heavy trigger, it makes you a little flinching. You don't really know what to do with it.
Absolutely.
So I try to tune my JM Pro down to that weight.
I tell you what, Jerry, I shoot a lot more shotgun than I do anything else. And when I go from shooting shotgun to shooting a pistol,
right,
it's rough right out the gate.
Well, that's one thing. I used to shoot with some Hall of Fame skeet shooters. And when you put a handgun in their hand, of course, it's a totally different. In a handgun, trigger pull is more important than anything. And in a shotgun, trigger pull is not that important, because you're usually going to slap it.
Yeah.
So when you get in a handgun, trigger pull is more important than sight alignment, and it's just the opposite way on a shotgun.
And that reminds me of the video that we made together on the Gould Brothers channel talking about speed shooting a pistol. And I don't recommend watching that because Jerry calls me names like a noodler and different stuff in there.
Oh, he's a noodler. You got short fingers.
Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out, Jerry. Actually, I do highly recommend it. It's a phenomenal video. This guy is a wealth of information when it comes to shooting handguns or really shooting any guns. That was a lot of fun, but you did call me a noodler.
You did.
And you said I had small fingers.
You was a noodler. What can I say? It was true.
Anyways, so Jerry, the viewers know this. When I look at the triggers, I don't like to just put the scale on them because that tells you one element of a trigger, right? But there's other things I know that you're also looking at. What do you look at in a trigger?
Well, how it stages. If it's a 2-stage trigger or a single-stage trigger, these have just a small take-up with hardly any weight on it. So it's very easy to take the slack out of the trigger.
So you're talking about before it breaks, that little bit of pre-travel.
Yeah, you just prep it a little bit and you're on the sear, and now it's ready to fire.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and dry fire this. Nice, crisp break there. Yeah, not a lot of travel ahead of time here.
Yep. They've boron nitrided the sear on these guns to give it a better quality trigger pull.
So that coating helps?
Yeah, it does. It adds a hard surface to the sear, and it takes less effort to break it out of the sear engagement.
Okay.
So it gives you a little bit crisper feel.
Boron nitride.
Yeah, it doesn't drag as much.
Now that felt a lot different.
Yeah, that one's been shot thousands of times, so guns break in just like anything else, like a good pair of shoes. So
Well, very cool. That's a real nice feeling trigger. I'm pretty happy with it.
see, one of the things we do in 3-gun, now and then we have to shoot slugs, and I've seen them out to 110 yards.
Yeah.
So then you have to shoot it like a rifle. So you
Yeah.
go from a shotgun to a rifle,
Right.
like in a stage of fire.
Yeah.
So your trigger is very important on a shotgun slug at that far.
Right.
So a good trigger really is, you always want a good trigger.
Absolutely.
You can only enhance the performance.
All right, we're rolling right along into ergonomics. Here we're taking a look at the look, the feel, the finish, the function of the firearm. I like to make just a lot of different observations about the gun. One of the things I like to look at right off the bat is just how does it feel in the hands?
One of the things I like about the redesign on the 940, they made the handguard smaller and thinner and a more aggressive pattern on the checkering. So I like a small forearm. I feel like I can control it better and point it better.
I'm with you.
And that same thing on the buttstock, they have different checkering there. And another thing I really like about it, of course, the oversized bolt release and bolt handle, but it has a cocking indicator, and that's been standard on the 930s forever, and they put it on the 940. So if you just put your finger in the trigger guard, you can feel that it's in the cocked position.
That's something I don't think that I've seen before. In fact, I had to ask you what it was before we started shooting this video.
Yeah.
So to jump on the few things that Jerry said there, the forend, the forearm, and the grip are more on the slender side, which I definitely appreciate. There's some of these guns that get real meaty, and I just don't feel like I got as good grip on them.
Especially the way when you do your performances, it's all handheld.
Yeah. Yep.
So to me, I have more control on it. I just like, same thing with my ARs. I put a small handguard on them, very narrow.
Yeah, so I like that. I think it feels really nice in the hands. The controls, as you said, are oversized, which I love, whether I'm duck hunting, exhibition shooting, really no matter what I'm doing, because being able to slap a shell in and then just go like that, it's not a struggle. Some of these guns got these tiny bolt releases that if your finger's not perfectly on and if you don't give it the exact amount of pressure, it doesn't close.
Well, that's one thing when we shot the Sportsman Team Challenge, I was a scramble guy, so I could have 2 rounds in my hand. I would throw one in, and I could just take the end and tap it.
Right.
And it's bolt closed. I can stick it in the mag on the way there. You know.
If you're shooting a flurry, you definitely want that.
Yeah,
but the same thing with the bolt handle. I mean, a lot of the non-oversized ones are sufficient.
Yeah.
Like they operate fine.
Yep.
But why not if you can get a little more material? I like the fact that I can just, again, don't have to look, get my thumb on it. Easy to run. Another thing that we mentioned just a little bit before in the video was the milled out loading port. That's a no-brainer in my mind. I don't know why more shotguns don't have it, but it's cool to see the 940 Pro does.
Now you brought that feature up, but you can see the magazine follower here. So that means when you go to address the shell into the feed catch, you don't have to put your finger into the magazine tube, but you just have to come parallel and it clips it in the feed catch.
So you don't have to get your finger as far up there.
No, you don't. Yeah. So if you don't actually understand what you're looking at, you're missing one of the key features there. It makes it very easy to load quickly. You can have your thumb vertical and you're ready to go.
I hear what you're saying, but I want to feel what you're saying.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and load this. I see that.
You see how you don't have to use the end of your thumb?
Yeah.
So it makes your loading, especially under stress, a lot more consistent with the least amount of effort.
That's a small thing that if I wasn't paying attention or you didn't say it, I might have skipped over it, but now that I see it.
That's one of the things we did on the early guns, the 930s, was to do that same feature.
Right.
So if you had your thumb flat to the receiver and you're loading, you're going to still get the shell behind the shell catch and not under the elevator.
I know what that's all about.
Yeah.
I've been caught plenty.
If you had gloves on,
really huge.
It's even more important.
Yes.
And that's another thing with this large loading port. It gives you the flexibility if you have gloves when you're hunting ducks or whatever to get ammunition back into the gun instead of taking your glove off and fumbling it around.
So now here in Louisiana, you might be running this gun and might not need gloves, but I can tell you if you're in Minnesota running this during duck season, 99% of the time you're going to want gloves on.
Yep.
So that's also in the waterfowl edition of this gun as well, all across the line, right?
Yep.
Very, very cool. Top tang safety?
Yep.
Tell me what you think, like safety-wise, tang safety versus a crossbolt safety.
Well, when it's on the top, it's either left or right-handed, you got the same feature.
Yeah.
So you don't have to swap it internally. Some guns you can change the push button to left or right. This one's on top, it's ready to go.
Either way.
It has a big visual. When it's on fire, you have red, you can see it. It's right on top of the gun where it's easy. It's drilled and tapped also. If you want to put an optic on it,
yes.
say if you want to whatever you want to do with an optic. If you want to shoot turkey or you want to shoot aerial targets with a, you can do that. You can put a full base on it or a half base. It gives you that option of customizing with optics.
You might want to hunt ducks with this in the fall, and then in the spring you also like to hunt with an optic, as I do. I love a red dot on a turkey gun.
Yep. So,
throw an optic on there.
Yep.
Then you could also take that off and be shooting sporting clays in the summer.
Yep. Gives you some flexibility there.
Mossberg is the primary one that has a semi-auto shotgun with a top tank safety,
top,
right?
Yeah, right.
And I actually really like that because, I mean, there's the times when you pull up and you go to shoot and your safety's on. This is pretty easy to slap it back on.
It is, yep. A lot of the 3-gun matches, you can put your shotgun down. And you can have ammunition in a chamber. It's usually in a dump barrel.
Yep.
So when I'm going to dump it in the barrel, I can ride that safety with my thumb, and I get a visual and a mechanical feel. So when I leave it, I know it's ready to go. It's on safe and it's safe.
Yeah.
And I can leave it there.
That makes sense.
And it just ride it. It's just easier than getting down on the trigger, either front or back of the trigger. So I like that feature a lot.
Very cool. Other things with ergonomics that I'm looking at, this waterfowl one looks like a high-vis sight on it.
It does, yep.
JM Pro.
It has the high-vis also.
High-vis.
Yep.
This also has a little this is a round version. This one looks more like a bigger triangle.
Yeah, this is interchangeable light pipes.
Okay.
So
can you go smaller with them?
You can. See that big triangular one on this one?
Right.
I like it for shooting slugs because it has a very fine aiming point.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you're going to make a 100-yard slug shot, you can use just the tip of it and you shoot it like a rifle. Or you can have the smaller round ones. It has 3. I think it comes with 5 different light pipes.
Okay.
So
see, for me, I would like to go as small as possible.
Yep.
I talk about it all the time in my videos.
Right.
When I'm shooting aerial targets, the bigger the fiber is on my shotgun, the more likely it is for my eye to come back to that.
To see it, yeah.
And gain focus there instead of out of my target. So sometimes I find too big of one distracting.
Right.
I want to see a little out of my peripheral, but I don't want it to be distracting.
Well, that's a good point. That's one thing about shooting a shotgun. There's many disciplines.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to get out of the gun is totally different.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to shoot slugs and we're trying to shoot targets in low light. See, a lot of your targets have field courses where it's in the woods. So not having a visual on the front of the gun, you actually lost where you are.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
We're having shoot and no shoot targets where you'd have a target, this would be the shoot target and it's overlapped with the no shoot. So then you have to shoot it like a rifle.
Yeah, you're doing a little more aiming than you are pointing.
Aim more than you aerial. So it kind of gives you flexibility if you want to change the light pipe to fit the situation. And you can do that. Different matches have different techniques that you apply to it. The world match, a lot of tight shots. You have to hit full choke.
Really?
They shoot like a rifle on a lot of stages. One of the things about the waterfowl gun, the extension here that houses the return spring for the boat, the whole action spring, is boron nitrided and it resists corrosion. It also has a stainless steel return spring and it has a drain feature in the stock. So if you submerge the gun, the stock will drain out.
That is interesting because I actually just made a video where I threw some guns in snow, dumped water on them, froze them.
Well, that's hard.
Got them up and running,
and
then I dumped a vacuum cleaner full of dirt in them.
You're a madman.
Yeah, it was a little over the top, let's say that.
Yeah.
But
that was interesting.
one of the guns wasn't working right. I re-lubed it here. I was just trying to do like a quick field lube. Like I'm not going to clean it. What happens if I lube it? But the issue I actually ran into is it got gunked up back here.
Right.
And so I had to take the stock off and clean it. So having this feature on this gun, now obviously I don't know how well it works in the field, but just knowing that they've taken measures to help keep you up and running when you're in those wet conditions, that's pretty cool.
And the coatings on the gas system also are the same. They give it that feature of you can shoot it without lubrication, and then the corrosion aspect is a lot less.
Gotcha.
So it's made for harsh environments like duck hunting. I mean, when I used to hunt ducks, it laying at the bottom of the P-Rog, it always was underwater. You pick it up and you shoot it. That would have been a great gun to have.
Back in the day?
Back in the day when I didn't have to put WD-40 on it, when I got home. But
very cool. So one last thing with ergonomics, Jerry, I see that your gun is ported on the barrel.
Yes.
But does it come like that?
No, it doesn't. I like to cheat as much as I can. So if I can port a gun, I will. It just makes it easier on the shooter. When I shoot shotguns, it's mostly stationary rapid fire.
Yeah.
So the way this porting, it's by Magnaport. This is one that they make especially for me.
Okay.
And you can see it's ported mostly on the right side.
Yeah, and why would you do that?
I'm right-handed, so the gun always wants to go this way. And the more porting I have going that way, the more it stays straight.
Gotcha.
I don't have to fight the recoil back into the target as much.
I don't think they call that cheating. I think they call that being smart.
Well, maybe sometime old is good.
Yeah.
You get a little smarter.
Well, I hope so, because
And you feel it when you shoot it. It makes it a little softer. It keeps the muzzle down.
well, I tell you what, I like to talk guns.
Let's shoot.
But more than that, I like to shoot guns.
He's got a lot of ammo. I got some bullets too. So.
So we're gonna talk recoil and reliability, get some rounds down range. I think I'm gonna pop just a few off out of this waterfowl. Feels pretty good. Recoil's kind of directly back.
Yeah.
I wasn't experiencing much jumping into my face at all. That was nice and slow.
Yeah.
Let's see what she feels like running just a little bit faster. Eject's nice and easy. You got many rounds through this gun here?
That one, I think Lena shot it on a hunt, and that was it.
Okay, I'm gonna
So it doesn't have much through it at all.
I'm gonna see what it does from the hip here.
All right.
Nothing to it. It's launching those shells too.
Yeah. It's got a good gas system. It has a spring-loaded compensating system on top of the piston that helps compensate for the higher velocity shells, the extra pressure, it bleeds it off.
Okay.
So it helps that gun stay in cycle and not overcycle.
Yeah.
And that's critical when you go to 3-inch. 3-inch shells are brutal on a gun. They have so much gas that they'll tend to overpower a gas system, where a skeet load would be perfectly fine, and you put a 3-inch in it, the gun overcycles and it goes nuts and it jams. So to keep the bolt velocity the same, there's a big spring assembly right here on top of the piston that acts like a check valve. So when it exceeds so many PSI, it bleeds it out to the front
Oh, gotcha.
instead of going back to the bolt.
Well, let's look at that here in just a little
Yep.
bit. I'm a very
Yep.
visual learner, so I hear
Yep.
what you're saying, but
Yep.
when we can take that apart,
Okay.
I feel like
Yep.
I'll really get it.
Yep.
Unless I got one more test on
Oh,
this.
there you goes.
Will it cycle this way? What do you think, Jerry? No problem?
Do it.
No problem. So that feels pretty good. I liked how it handled the recoil.
Gas guns in general are always going to shoot softer because it doesn't depend on the recoil of the gun to set it.
Yeah.
Recoil operated guns, you have to hold them.
Yes, you do.
And what I found about recoil guns, if you shoot them straight up and down, they're slower than they are level. It's very easy to beat a bolt if you're shooting straight up and down, because that bolt has to go directly against gravity,
Yep.
and it slows the cycle down, and you'll outrun the bolt. Like I said before, I like to cheat as much as I can, so the softer the gun shoots for me in rapid fire, and when I'm in a bad position, that's one thing about 3-gun, you never know how you're going to be. You're shooting under a table, you're shooting out of a window, so the least amount of recoil is always the best for me. But anyway, every gun is just like the shooting sports in general. There's so many options, there's so many guns and so many different disciplines. I just try to tailor mine to my small discipline.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Well, I can tell you right off the bat, I like what I see out of these guns. Can I try this one? I just want
Yeah,
to see if it
yeah.
feels much different as far
Yeah.
as recoil. And I mean, you have thousands of rounds through this
I do.
gun,
Yep,
right?
Yep.
Well, let's just... Trigger definitely felt different. Caught me
Yeah,
off guard a
it
little
is. It
bit.
kind of messes with your brain after
Yeah.
you shoot a hard trigger. Yeah.
Feels really good, other than being a little too short for me.
Yeah. Well.
That's why they make them adjustable. Well,
It
very
does.
cool.
Yep, yep.
I think we got a good look at the ergonomics. I'm curious to break one of these down. Let's see what's inside. We can talk
Okay.
a little bit more about this gas
Yep,
system, and then we
yep.
can go fast.
Go shoot some.
We can go fast.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry, we're ready to break this bad boy down. We got the 940 Pro waterfowl.
Yep.
Let's break it down. Show us what's working on the
Okay.
inside of this bad boy.
All right, you got a high visibility follower. You can see it's orange, it's empty. We got a chamber flag, so there's no way.
You love your chamber
I
flags.
love chamber flags. This saves a lot of grief. We got an empty chamber. I'm gonna go ahead and drop it. How to take a magazine tube off or an extension. Sometimes they're very hard. You can't get your finger on them. So
Yep.
what I like to do is do this, where I can get both palms on it.
Look at that.
And you can.
That's a trick I never even knew
There's no
about.
gun you can't disassemble like that. And I reassemble them that way too.
Okay.
So we got the mag cap off. This comes off like this. And you can see the external metal parts are actually Cerakoted. And this one's a green because it's a waterfowl.
I really like that look with the Cerakoted barrel and receiver.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Camo furniture.
Chrome line chamber barrel
Yep.
and barrel extension. Here's the gas piston. So what I do, I grab the pusher right here, and that helps push that piston out. Because if you don't, this piston will come here and it stays, and you'll jam the barrel in and you'll lock it up. If you just do this, sometimes the piston will stay back.
Oh,
and you see
gotcha.
how it jams the gun?
Yep. So you're grabbing here.
Yeah, so I just grab the pusher and keep the piston in the cylinder when I disassemble.
And that looks a lot different than what I'm used to seeing like on an SX4, where you have the two gas ports come out there,
Yep.
but then you have one metal piece. You have the piston that's one piece, and you
Yep.
got a couple different pieces here.
Yes, the pusher. This is their third iteration of a gas piston.
Okay.
This is their latest one. That's what allows for the high maintenance cycle. And then if you can see internal of this extension here on the barrel, you can see this very heavy spring in there. It looks like it comes off of a truck. It's a heavy coil spring.
Yeah.
Of course, the piston's redesigned. This is a beautiful thing. This really added a lot of the cycle, cleaning cycle.
So I know their marketing material says 1,500 rounds
Right.
between cleaning.
That's, you know, we're talking about shotgun ammunition. There's a zillion different shotgun shells on the market, and they all burn differently, and they leave residue differently. You've seen shells that really were dirty.
Yep.
So then it would have to be a little shorter cycle. If you had good ammo, you probably could even run more.
Yeah.
The way I look at my gun to tell if it needs cleaning is that when this pusher assembly here, if you fire the last shot and you see it sticking out in the receiver,
Okay.
it's not pushing this back into the cylinder.
Gotcha.
So then I got to take it down and clean it. What I like about this gun compared to other gas guns, I've shot other gas guns, and what really I like about this system, I think what makes it reliable for is breaking parts, because gas guns are usually notorious on breaking stuff. Because when this gun cycles, you see the piston always stays into the cylinder. So the rings don't come out. Other gas guns, the piston reciprocates a lot further.
Yep.
Then when it goes back home, it has to seek center. So it's stressing that ring assembly every time it goes back home. And this one doesn't. It's a very short cycle. So what happens when this gun actually fires, this is all it moves. That's it. That little bit of boat travel.
And that just has enough energy that creates the momentum for it to go back.
So the piston always stays in the cylinder, and it's just the inertia of that effect being transferred to the boat, and it does its cycle. And if there's a round under the ready to feed, it'll of course close and feed it into the chamber. The other thing I like about Mossberg is simple parts. Pull the bolt handle out just like that, and you take a punch. And this gun is brand new, so everything is still pretty sharp and crisp in the trigger assembly. As you use them, it's even easier to open. What I always recommend on this trigger group is to have the ejection port up when you take it out, because the pins that actually contain a lot of the parts are only captivated this way. So if you flip it over this way, they could fall out. Push the button here and you get the bolt assembly out. This has been really a game changer for me, is how reliable that bolt is engineered. And if you look at the pieces and parts, they're relatively big and they're inexpensive. So if you wanted to buy an extra barrel and do your chopping or porting and you don't like it, you're not off $500-600. The same thing with the trigger group. The parts are big. Everything is just big and easy to work on.
Can I try to slap this back together?
All right, boss.
I watched you take it apart.
Now
so.
this pin is not captivated. The only thing that captivates is when you put the bolt on it.
Finds its home on its own. Boom!
Boom!
Okay.
Boom it.
Then this first.
Yes. You're asking to tell me. What? You got it right. Lock your bolt back. Oh, he was going to do it anyway, but I had to say something.
I was on it.
He was,
I'm confused.
Pusher.
See, if I took it apart myself, I would follow a little bit better.
Cool.
We're back together. You know what that means?
Got to make noise.
It means we can shoot.
There you go.
Make some noise.
Make it happen.
Let's get to some speed shooting. 3 clays on the clock. So when the buzzer goes off, I'm throwing the clays. You're shooting as fast as you can. See what type of score we can get.
You'll have to hit them.
Preferably.
Right.
Preferably.
I'm good at pulling the trigger. Hitting is different. All right.
Oh, got all 3. What do we got?
Yeah. 159.
159.
159.
Not bad. I feel like I was the slow one there, Jerry. The hesitation between the buzzer and the throw.
You did a perfect throw, though.
I can get a little faster for you.
That was a perfect throw.
I'll get them lined up. You smoke them.
All right.
Oh, yes. They were pretty tight, too, weren't they, there?
117.
117.
That was a good throw.
I think we've seen enough. I'll give it a few tries. I got to see how this gun runs. I just want to have some fun here.
Oh!
Well, there's 3 clays powder. That wasn't Jerry Miculek speed. 148.
Yeah, but you had to throw them. That's a lot more work. I'm just holding the gun shooting, so you're doing all the work. Oh!
Not terrible. 124. Normally, I would sit out here for another 30 minutes
And get
pounding rounds.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think this is just going to be a phenomenal video, giving folks a great look at the JM Pro and the 940 Pro series. And just the fact that I've got to hang out with you today, shoot your signature gun, and spend some time out here in beautiful Louisiana.
Beautiful day.
I would say it was a success. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. If you haven't done so already, make sure you check out Jerry's channel. I'll put the link in the description. Absolutely amazing stuff. And remember, whether you're in the field or in life, you're only gonna hit those targets that you're laser focused on. So live target focused. And also,
Get some.
see ya!